Thank you very much for the opportunity to lead your service today. We will consider the most precious pearl and treasure we have in Jesus. It is a bold statement because many would surely ask how Jesus can be a treasure. Let's turn to Matthew chapter 13, verses 44 to 58, and to the parables of the hidden treasure, the pearl and the net. We will start with the parable of the hidden treasure in verse 44. The kingdom of heaven is like treasure hidden in a field. When a man found it, he hid it again, and then in his joy went and sold all he had and bought that field. I'm sure that we have all countless treasures, and that the word treasure means something different to each one of us. I consider my loved ones, family and friends to be treasures. I'm sure that money and wealth are treasures, and the word treasure is found in the word treasury, such as His Majesty's Treasury and Bank of England in London. It can mean cultural and heritage treasures, such as works of art, archives, manuscripts, books and maps held in national institutions such as the National Library of Wales here in Aberystwyth. It is a word used in events such as a treasure hunt, where it is necessary to follow and solve a number of clues that will lead to winning the treasure. It can also be used as a metaphorical term. Collections of articles published as a book or a magazine often use treasure in the title, such as in the Treasury, the monthly online publication published by the Presbyterian Church of Wales. It is indeed a very useful treasury, full of news from our churches and interesting and stimulating articles. If you're unfamiliar with the Treasury, I suggest you visit the PCW website to access the latest copy, www.ebcpcw Cymru Treasury. The word treasure is also found in the title of several novels, and that reminded me of the title of one of T. Llew Jones's well-known novels for children in Welsh, Trysor y Môr Ladron. In this novel, we follow the adventures of Sir Harry Morgan, the pirate from Wales, every step of the way from the Fenni Abergavenny to the Caribbean. Treasure Island is surely one of the most famous novels in the English language that contains the word treasure, an adventure novel by the Scottish author Robert Louis Stevenson that tells a story about pirates looking for hidden gold. And that brings us back neatly to the words treasure hidden in verse 44. It doesn't refer to the treasures I have already referred to, but to the most valuable treasure of all. Let us think of the kingdom of heaven as a treasure, hidden in a field. Someone finds the treasure and then hides it again, because they don't want to be without it. She rejoices to find such a treasure and is ready to sell everything so that she can buy that field that contains the treasure so that they will never be without that priceless treasure. Jesus is the treasure in verse 44, and it is a hidden treasure until we realize its value and Jesus is revealed to us. That's when we see the treasure. We see Jesus in our mind and heart and realize that everything we need is in Jesus and that we cannot exist or live without him. It is a treasure that we do not want to lose, and the person who finds the treasure therefore hides it as soon as possible again in the field so that no one can take it from him or her. He or she then decides to sell everything, to have the means to buy that field, so that they will never be without such a precious treasure. They are ready to share the treasure with others. So much is the value of that treasure. That is the effect Jesus has on those who discover him. They do not want to lose him and are ready to do everything to keep him, including sell everything in their possession. They are prepared to share that treasure, which is Jesus, so that Jesus becomes the fountain of the lives of all who discovers the most amazing treasure of all. We return to Matthew chapter 13 and to the second story, which is the parable of the pearl, in verses 45 to 46. Again, the kingdom of heaven is like a merchant looking for fine pearls. When he found one of great value, he went away and sold everything he had and bought it. I'm sure many of us have family members who own or have owned a necklace of precious pearls. Some pearls are more valuable than others depending on the origin of the pearl. The most valuable pearls are the rare ones, produced naturally in an oyster shell. There are other pearls that are also produced by oysters, but are less valuable due to human intervention in the production process of those pearls. Pearls come in a variety of colours, such as red, black, blue, green, and white. The latter is the colour of the most familiar pearls, and I remember my late mother wearing with pride a necklace of pearls she inherited from her aunt. The word pearl also reminds me of a vinyl record I have in my record collection at home, which is The Pearl Fishers, the famous three-act opera by the French composer Georges Bizet and the libretto by Eugène Cormon and Michel Carré. Those are some examples which may come to our minds when thinking of pearls in our earthly world, but that is not the pearl that's referred to in verse 45 and verse 46. Reference is made to fine pearls and one of great value. They are reference to the priceless pearl that is Jesus. Jesus says that the merchant does not sell the less valuable pearls he has, pearls he would not regret selling to buy the one most incredible pearl he's found. No, he explains that he is selling all the pearls he has. All his pearls, and not just the less valuable ones. He sacrifices the entire collection in order to get possession of the very best pearl. The parable suggests that the merchant is aware that a better pearl is to be found somewhere, even before he finds it. It shows the influence of Jesus on the merchant, how Jesus came not only into his life, but is at the center of his life, and realizing that he could not live without Jesus. As we consider the merchant's sacrifice, it is possible that we are amazed at his action and think about our own sacrifices as followers of Jesus and as Christians. Have we given all we could to follow him, to know him, and in the words of Anne Griffith's well-known hymn, remain in his love all the days of my life? When we meet Jesus in our mind and heart and accept him as the center of our lives, we begin to understand the true significance of the pearl in verses 45 and 46. I referred to the parables of the hidden treasure and the pearl, two parables from among the 60 or so recorded in the Gospels. You may be asking what exactly a parable is. Maurice Lauder says in his excellent book, Matthew's Gospel, that we cannot find a better definition of what a parable is than that given by A.M. Hunter. A simile taken from the natural world or from everyday life with the intention of explaining some spiritual truth on the assumption that what makes sense in one world makes sense also in the other. Let's return to Matthew chapter 13 for our last parable, which is the parable of the net in verses 47 and 52. Once again, the kingdom of heaven is like a net that we let down into the lake and caught all kinds of fish. When it is full, the fishermen pulled it up on the shore. Then they sat down and collected the good fish in baskets, but threw the bad away. That is how it will be at the end of the age. The angels will come and separate the wicked from the righteous and throw them into the blazing furnace, where there will be weeping and gnashing of teeth. Have you understood all these things? Jesus asked. Yes, they replied. He said to them, therefore, every teacher of the law who has become a disciple in the kingdom of heaven is like the owner of a house who brings out of his storeroom new treasures as well as old. This is the last parable in the trio of short parables from very different backgrounds that complete chapter 13. What we get here is a reference to the last journey which all of us face. Jesus compares the kingdom of heaven to a group of fishermen throwing their nets out into the waters of a lake and catching all kinds of fish. Once the nets are full, they pull them ashore and sort and divide the fish. The good ones to be kept are placed in buckets, while the useless fish are thrown away. That's how life's journey will end for each one of us. The angels will go out and gather the good people to keep them, and gather the bad people from among the good people and throw them into the furnace of fire. They will be in hell, crying and suffering terrible pains, and the biggest pain of all is realizing much too late that they have followed the wrong path and not the path of Jesus. What we understand in the parable of the nets is that the kingdom of heaven has an order, and that includes the process of sorting who goes where at the end of our journey in this world. The nets were full of fish of all kinds, and the fishermen had to sort out between the good fish and the bad fish. That is the fate of Christians, of those who believe they are Christians and those who are not Christians. The true Christian puts Jesus in the middle of the circle of life. Everything else in life, such as family, money, work, education, leisure, and the person itself revolves around Jesus. Those who believe they are Christians and those who are not Christians continue to put themselves at the centre of the circle of life. Everything else in life, including Jesus, revolves around me. We know from being true Christians which are the good fish and which ones, therefore, are kept. They inherit the kingdom of God. We know which are the bad fish. They are cast out, and their fate is hell. And then comes the key question from Jesus in verse 51, asking, have you understood all this? And the answer, yes. Well, in reality, they still do not understand the real message of Jesus. How do we know that? I refer you to the last verses of chapter 13, which states that so subtly and clearly. When Jesus had finished these parables, he moved on from there. Coming to his hometown, he began teaching the people in their synagogue, and they were amazed. Where did this man get this wisdom and these miraculous powers, they asked. Isn't this the carpenter's son? Isn't his mother's name Mary? Aren't his brothers James, Joseph, Simon, and Judas? Aren't all his sisters with us? Where then did this man get all these things? And they took offense at him. But Jesus said to them, a prophet is not without honor, except in his own town and in his own home. And he did not do many miracles there because of their lack of faith. From hearing, listening, understanding, and acting on the parables of the hidden treasure, the pearl and the net, we know that Jesus is at the center of all of us who are Christians and followers of Jesus. Thank you very much for listening, and I hope you have had a blessing by my presentation based on Matthew chapter 13, verses 42 to 58.